jerk that trigger. And finally lock back. Hey guys, welcome back to 1776 or Bust. So today is the day where I'm going to be talking about how the XD-S Mod 2 in 9mm felt and shot. You know, overall, I think right now this is a very good entry into the market for 9mm for the single stack. While we have a lot of options out there, I really do think this is a viable option for anybody who's looking for a single stack that is built very well, feels very good in the hand, and, you know, shoots rather well. You know, you're getting a lot of features. Again, I'm not sure what the price point of this is going to be. If it's anything like its big brother, the 45, it's probably going to be maybe around the $500 plus mark. But again, keep in mind with this certain package here, you have night sights, you have 3 magazines. So it's actually a very good price in my opinion, if that's what it is. It could be lower, it could be higher. Again, I'm not privy to those details. However, I would say that if you're looking at or for a single stack, you might want to seriously consider that. And especially if you're a fan of the original XD-S, I think this is leaps and bounds above that one. Now, even though there's a tremendous amount of positives of the handgun, I'm going to tell you about a couple of things that I found that for me were a little bit of mixed reaction. And it's not a negative, it's not a positive. It's just what I felt maybe if I was going to design the handgun myself, or if I was going to be able to have any input on that, I would certainly want to change up a little bit. Now, again, does it really take away anything from the handgun? In my opinion, it doesn't. Like I said, if you're really in love with the XD-S Mod 2, I think, is a better handgun than the original. There's just a couple of things for me that I felt were slightly awkward, I guess, but it's not a knock against the gun. I think it's more of me than anything else, but I'll explain why when we get to the table. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be looking at some shooting, and I want to talk a little bit about the recoil of the handgun. Now, a lot of people say that the smaller handguns you're going to feel a little bit more snappiness in regards to the felt recoil, and that might be true. You know, I've owned a couple of PPS M2s, I've owned a couple of Shields, and you know, they're good shooting handguns. I would say that of the 3, if I was going to go, you know, Shield, PPS M2, or this one, which did I feel mitigated the recoil a little bit better? I would actually say it's the XD-S Mod 2. I'm not exactly sure why. I think it's just because of the way it sits in your hand, and the ergonomics are just a little bit better than the other 2. And this is coming from a Walther fan, and you guys know I love Walther pistols. But I felt like this was just a little bit more ergonomic in my hand than the PPS M2. I also think that the slide rides a little bit lower into your hand, which I think is a huge plus, especially when we're talking about small handguns. It just gives you a little bit more control over the gun, which overall will allow you to control that, you know, that felt recoil a little bit more. So let's go to the video. I'm going to show you the recoil in slow motion so you can get an eye on it. And the first one you're going to see is with the small magazine, the 7-round mag with the pinky extension. And then I'm going to go with the 8-round mag. And I only shoot, I think, 3 rounds between the 8 and the 9-round mag, because most people obviously are going to probably carry it with this one here, which is a smaller mag, which makes it a lot more concealable, especially if you're in a concealed carry state only like I am. I mean, overall, everything worked well. No issues with any of the casings falling in my, or getting shot in my face. I didn't have to eat any of the casings, and that's always a good thing. But overall, everything worked the way it needed to work. Again, fit and finish is excellent. The melanite finish on it is fantastic. Again, the gun shot well, but when I get to the table, I'm going to explain a couple of things that you're going to see in the video. So let's go to the video and let's take a look at the recoil. Okay, so in the first clip, like I said before, what you're going to be seeing here is the 7-round pinky extension mag. So it's actually the smallest magazine you're going to get with this handgun. And as you can tell just watching, there's very, very little recoil in the handgun. Again, I think the ergonomics play a great role in that, because when I was able to grip the gun just felt very natural in my hand. The undercut and the trigger guard was just enough to really get my, my big fat middle finger under there, and it just felt really good. You'll notice to the end of the scene here that I hit the mag release, so that's why I didn't lock back. All right, so on this one, you'll notice that I am using the actual 8-round extension, and so it gives you a little bit more of a full grip. So instead of your pinky having only about a half of the grip there, you'll notice that in the previous video, you'll notice that it actually gives you a lot more purchase there. So overall, the recoil was very minimal. I think this is actually a more, or I should say less feeling recoil than the PPS M2 or the Shield. Again, in this clip, what you're going to find is that with the full-size 9-round magazine, the mitigation of the recoil is even better than the other two. So again, I still believe this feels a little bit flatter than the other two guns I mentioned prior. All right, so we're at the table, and we're taking a good look at the XD-S Mod 2 in 9mm. Now, overall, what were my thoughts about the gun as I was shooting it? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you some video first. You're going to take a look at it, and basically what you're going to see in this footage that I'm going to show you right now is basically the handgun being shot, obviously. Now, the groupings I had were kind of, they were okay. They weren't great. They weren't perfect. And over time, I began to really figure out why that was. Now, I would always tell you that I'm not the best shot in the world. I'm pretty good, but not great. And what I found about this, and as you can see here, the groupings again are kind of high and low. There are some shots to the middle. It's hard to see because it is dark in there, but it is what it is. But overall, what I found about the handgun was that the trigger is kind of an interesting bird. And what I mean by that is the trigger's not bad, but it's not great. And what I mean by that is that for me, what I was noticing was as I pulled the trigger, and you can see it's got very good take up. It's very short. It's right there at the wall. But I'm going to do my best to show you what I'm talking about when I talk about this trigger. So the trigger will actually move a little bit more, and then it actually moves a little bit more, and then it breaks. So there is probably a good amount, maybe a half an inch of movement from the wall to where it actually breaks. Now, my preference would have been I would love to have seen the trigger take up here, and then just maybe a slight movement, and then it breaks right there, but it doesn't. It actually continues to roll back to the back of the handgun. Again, if I had a preference, I'd like to have seen the break be a little bit more forward so that as you hit the wall, it's just a short boom, and then it goes off. Unfortunately, that's not what this trigger feels like. Now, again, keep in mind, it's a brand new handgun. So over time, I'm assuming that, the metal to metal contact will start to wear in a little bit. You can always polish it up if you'd like to, but overall, I felt that that was where I was lacking. Now, again, do I blame the handgun? I don't blame the handgun, guys, because we all know that the modern striker-fired pistol is going to be more accurate than the way we shoot. And if it's not shooting accurately, it's probably not the fault of the handgun. It's really the user error. And in this case, just not having enough time with this trigger and just really trying to get a feel for where it was breaking, I think was absolutely a needed opportunity. So I will be taking this out again. I will be shooting it some more because I really want to learn the trigger, because overall it shot very nicely. It shot very flat. I just need to get more time with that trigger. The other thing that I'm going to say to you that was kind of, I don't want to say a problem, because it's not a problem. Like I said, it's a good handgun. But one of the things that I didn't necessarily care for was the shape of the grip safety. So for many of you who have XDs, especially in the Mod 2, the grip safeties I've never had an issue with. There are some people who hate them, some people who like them, and some people who don't care either way. Me personally, I don't care either way if it's there or not. It's not going to make a difference for me. If you grip the gun the way you're supposed to, you're going to activate the grip safety, and it's not going to be a problem. In this case, the one thing that I wasn't too cool with, or I should say I didn't like too much, was the fact the way they cut this, the grip safety. So instead of it being smooth all the way around, they put a little shelf here, a little edge right there. And it is smoothed out. I mean, it's not sharp or anything like that, but there is a pronounced edge. And one of the things that I noticed when I was shooting was that when I activated the grip safety, no problem, it's fine. But as I shot the gun, and probably about 50 rounds into it, I noticed I started to develop a red irritation here on my hand. And that really was because of this right here. This edge was actually digging into the hand. Now, in all practicality, let's be reasonable about this. The likelihood of you shooting 250 rounds in one location in self-defense is, I would say, 99.9% unlikely. So you have to deal with the fact that, yes, it's probably going to cause a slight irritation, but again, you're not going to be shooting that many rounds. You're not going to be noticing that. And again, I felt it probably for the first 10 rounds, and then I didn't feel it anymore until after I was done shooting. It's just something I wanted to bring to your attention because, again, I'm trying to do the most honest review as I can. And, I can't tell you that I've ever shot a perfect handgun. And I've owned a lot of handguns. None of them are perfect. There's always something about every gun that I've owned that could have had a small improvement here or there. But again, who am I to say? I'm not the engineer and I don't work for the company. But ultimately, I would find that this little ledge here, I wish they would have just gotten rid of that and smoothed it out a little bit so that you didn't have this little ledge there. But other than that, I would not consider that a big problem. I mean, overall, everything worked well. The slide was easy to rack. One of the things that I would say also that sometimes people forget about or ignore is the ease of loading the magazines. Now, obviously, if you own a Shield, you guys know that with the magazines, they can be the biggest pain in the butt to load to full capacity. With the Mod 2 magazines, no issues whatsoever. It took the 7, the 8, and the 9 rounds with no problem. And honestly, I like that. I have no issues with it. Again, one of the other things that I found while I was shooting it was my thumb kept hitting the slide release. And in the video prior to this, where I showed the range footage with the recoil, I said the magazine release. I actually meant the slide release. And what you're going to notice is that as you're gripping that handgun, I kept riding high because I tend to ride my fingers and my hands pretty high on the slide. However, what I had to do is I had to make a small adjustment by going underneath the slide release, and just small adjustment, nothing major. And as soon as I did that, it locked back every time. But again, these are little idiosyncrasies of each handgun. You know, again, is it a positive or negative? I don't think it's either or. It's just basically me saying what I found about the handgun. The sights overall, I mean, what can I say? They're awesome. I love Ameriglow sights. You know, the green shows up well. The blacked out rears work very well. And the sight picture was just perfect. So the sights were dead on, and I like that fact. I mean, other than that, I would recommend the gun. And the reason why I would say that is because this is a great option for the single stack market in 9mm. Now, they have the 45. The 45 has been out for a while. And, you know, people like it. The people who own it have no issues with them. And people who like the past XD-S have had no issues with that handgun either. Would I recommend it? Yes. And here's why. First off, the fit and finish is excellent. The melanite slide is awesome. I mean, you can see, I don't know if you can see it, but there is a little bit of carbon on the slide and everything. But, you know, everything looks nice. Everything's beveled the way it should be, Glock. And one of the things you're going to realize is that it just feels good in the hand. I think for most people, the majority of people who decide or consider this handgun, when you put it in your hand, you're going to automatically say, boy, that feels really nice. And I think over time, again, as the trigger breaks in and as you get more time at the range and you really learn the breakage of that trigger, and like I said, I'll show it to you one more time. You've got that pull right there. That's the wall, but you'll see it rolls even more. And right there, it just should be breaking, in my opinion, before that. And it's not much room after that, but I just think it breaks a little bit too far back. I wish it would have just broken a little bit further forward. And I think from that standpoint, that would be the only thing I would say about the trigger. Again, once you fire it, once you use it, once you really train with it and start using it on a consistent basis, I really think you're going to learn the trigger with no problem. So like I said, it's not the gun's issue, it's going to be the owner's issue, and depending on how much you want to commit to learning that trigger. Overall, I like the fact that the controls are very limited. You have your slide lock, slide release, your takedown lever, and really that's it, guys. You've got your ambi mag release, and overall fit and finish is great. And the gun felt good in the hand, very low recoil. And I think from this standpoint, Springfield did a great job redesigning this in the 9mm. So again, if you're looking for a single stack 9mm in the subcompact model, I think you can't go wrong with this. I really do think this is a fantastic choice. And it just has a bunch of features that I like on it, and I have no complaints, except for the fact that I've got to learn the trigger a little bit more. And my only thing was I wish they would just get rid of that little ledge there. Overall, great gun. Springfield did a wonderful job redesigning it. Again, these are going to be released to the public. I think it's going to be a good seller, and hopefully you enjoy it if you decide to buy it. But definitely like it. I definitely recommend it, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. So if you like, leave a comment down below. Thumbs up if you like it. Thumbs down if you don't. It is what it is. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. And hopefully you'll leave some good comments for a discussion, and we'll go from there. So I hope you guys have a great night. Stay safe. And as always, freedom is never free.